Yeah.
We are back with
Ooh.
Daniel and Fritz together.
Yeah,
The
Robin
duo.
just popped in.
The
It's good to
duo
see
with
Robin.
the conviction.
Yeah, the super conviction.
We got the super conviction. Do you have super conviction, Anon?
Yeah, exactly.
I know
Do
Johnny
you?
does. The
Yeah.
sun is rising on Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. Morning,
Which-
Johnny.
I had the most. I don't remember my dreams too often, and maybe because I was up kind of late with another another podcast, but a particularly wild podcast. My brain was just like swirling with big things. But I had the most vivid dream last night, literally about. It was like I could view this broad cultural Overton window shift of Bitcoin from kind of like where we're at to where it goes to a literal Bitcoin standard that I hadn't really thought about other than conceptually, but it was like I was feeling it in this dream. It was like, this is what the Bitcoin standard is like now. Like, oh my goodness. And it's like when you wake up from a dream and you have that feeling, but you can't quite remember the details and they're slipping away. So I feel I'm not doing it justice trying to describe it. But what hit me was that I thought I knew what being early was. Like, oh, we're so early. We're so early. I've said that. I've heard that. I felt it like, my God, early is early when like you go and talk to people about, like, a video I saw where they're like, hey, what's the price of Bitcoin? And they're like, what's Bitcoin?
Yeah.
What's the price of Bitcoin? $0 or $2,000? I don't know. Like,
yeah.
I feel like
Probably,
99%, 99.5% of people don't know it, don't get it, don't give a shit, have no idea, are like, Epstein, what? UFOs? I heard UFOs now.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. And so, yes, I had a dream, Johnny. It was, but the feeling I got was crazy bullish because Bitcoin continued, and the time preference about it, I guess, is just sort of like I keep thinking like this year cycles, things are coming, and yet, Bitcoin at 1 million is just kind of like getting started. Ultimately, that in fiat world, basically fiat goes to zero, and feeling that feeling of fiat flagellating and struggling and getting really, 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 really bad, and Bitcoin yet remain. That's what I was seeing, was that it's not like it's not like fiat just went away, but it was so bad, and people were feeling it so weird, and it was just like, what are you doing? Bitcoin's still running.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
anyway,
he had a dream. We've got Martin Luther Fritz.
It was a good dream. It was a really good dream but it went from weird fiat worseness to Bitcoin standardization, and then we were there, and it was amazing. Like, things just started to work, and there were people that were like struggling and failing, but it was like, why are you doing that? You can just you don't have to like take a courageous leap. Now you can just walk over. So take a step.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
cool.
Anyway, it was a good dream.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if the rest of the world shares that sentiment just
well, so there's all the reasons in the world. I was going to let me throw up a graph here, because I actually, I'm stealing this from Jack Mallers, but he had I can appreciate some of his takes on things. This is a graph of World Uncertainty Index, and 9/11, Iraq War, whatever. COVID was bad, wasn't it? Now we got the stimmy checks and all that, so we were talking about the number go up type thing about Bitcoin and what COVID did. But we are at this crazy high world uncertainty index where there's a major chill on everything going on economically right now. It's high, super high.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I'm kind of dubious about what an uncertainty index looks like. What exactly creates an uncertainty index? Let's see what a robot says about that.
I imagine like there's that fear and greed index, and then this is GDP weighted. So I don't know exactly what this represents, but if it's tracked over such a time, whatever this is exactly,
let's just see what the robot says. Let's see what a robot says about the uncertainty index.
I've definitely been hearing a lot of references also. People talk about the fourth turning. If that's the name for it, there's definitely a lot of weird stuff going on. Like in just the mainstream news, stuff that used to be real fringe that's going mainstream, and people are like, what? People don't know what to think right now.
What's the stuff that's going mainstream?
So, well, I mean, so there's
I'm like totally outside of the whole bubble.
So okay. So, well, for a little backstory, and now this is like the mainstream stuff. You click news and here's some headlines, and it's like, oh, so like last week we talked about, Bondi's testifying to Congress and is like the Dow. But what about Epstein? The Dow. And so okay, weird Epstein distractionary, like don't look over there, don't follow the money, don't think about it. So yeah, was it 2 days ago? Obama, I didn't hear what he said, but Obama said something about knowing things about aliens and UFO disclosure stuff.
Oh God.
Which Trump leapt on, and basically Trump was like, Obama shouldn't have said that. He's violating secrecy stuff. And so, by the way, I'm gonna order a commission to start releasing UFO files and what we know about aliens and UFOs. And it wasn't kind of like, oh, all the regular boring stuff you might imagine. It's kind of like wink, wink. Trump has hinted before, like, we know stuff, we have stuff. So the sense is, and quickly the memes came out of like, forget about Epstein, we got UFOs.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And exactly, Johnny, it's just sort of like, you keep talking about Epstein, stop following the money. We got UFOs.
Right. Yeah.
So what's the next major distraction? We got to just have like a landing on the White House lawn or some weird disclosure. They can pick and choose. It's like that. Like I joke about having the plans on the shelves. Like, what's the next thing we need? Well, let's go with UFOs. So it's like, okay, hey, you want to rattle everybody and get them busy again? We've had UFOs, we've had contact, folks. Here's what's up.
Yeah.
What a rabbit hole you could go down, real or fake or whatever. You could say, here's what we know. And then people are just going to be like, what?
Well, some certain subset will, you know what I mean? Like that's the funny thing about this, like Trump personally, Trump's brand globally, and now Trump's administration are all roughly rooted in self-promotion, right?
Yeah.
And that guy has mastered long ago, back when he was still in his 20s, he had mastered this idea of like capturing media narratives, media attention, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, shiny objects literally fly.
But that's the thing is like that guy, one of his key strategies, best I can tell, is just to like hammer fuck the media narrative, right? Like, because he can just tweet something that's like borderline grossly offensive, overtly offensive, subtly offensive, questionable, like but it doesn't matter. Like he long ago recognized, like, I'm not here trying to craft some curated political personality. I'm here to continue my legacy of getting attention, making sure I'm shaping attention, making sure I'm keeping attention where I want it to go. And so it's I don't, like whether or not he's just like, oh, we need a distraction now. I don't think that's how he runs. I literally think it's just like keep feeding the machine, feed it faster than it can eat. It's like the donut stuffing machine for Homer Simpson, right? Like he knows that the media is Homer Simpson. Like they will just eat these donuts into infinity. Like I don't know if you remember that episode, but Homer Simpson gets sent down to hell, and they're like, "Aha, you like donuts so much, yeah, ha ha ha." So some little demon like sets up a machine.
We're gonna torch you with donuts. He's like,
yeah,
more,
and he's just like, more. Yeah, exactly. And that's literally the media machine. That's
more
literally the media environment where they just kind of go like, more. And so
he's an energy monster, and anyway.
Yeah, but it's a symbiotic relationship, right? Like they get to it's very much it's not syncretic at all. Like they're very much aligned in their goals and objectives, and he knows that, and they know that, and so like Trump used to joke about it outright. He just go, "I did more for media companies just by showing up than they did for themselves in the last 20 years." Because they finally had something to talk about that wasn't just like man in the street, like, "Gee, prices are getting high," like so it really gave everybody a lot of sorry, I got an itch all of a sudden. But anyway, it's what I'm kind of getting at for the whole broader thing is like whether it's the Epstein files, the JFK files, or UFO files, or just whatever tweet of the day, or him like we're throwing out all the immigrants, or we're doing this, we're doing that, or Doge, or I mean, it's just like he just knows what the media cycle needs and wants, and he just gives it to him.
Yeah, he can just walk out anywhere, wherever he's at. He can just be walk into the helicopter, stop, and there's the day's news story is whatever he might say, and they're just like, I mean, love him or hate him, he just sucks the energy up, and that's a story. It's hard not to,
hey, what's up?
So then,
Bring Facts.
Bring Facts is here. Welcome.
Good to see you. You ever start doing burpees?
He was up late with me, and now he's up early with us.
Nice.
Trump is weirdly media savvy that way. And so then the other bit of news here, and I think this is actually, if you think fiat, this is bullish for Bitcoin in a way. So the Supreme Court knocked down the tariff stuff. So I think he just threw out there a blanket 10% thing or something, or I don't know what all, or what does it say, 15%? But yeah, basically the Supreme Court said he can't just willy-nilly like, oh yeah, well then I'll make it 10%. Oh yeah, well I'll make it 30%. All right, 100%. And they're saying he can't do that. So
duh.
Well, what it does is if tariffs were their lever on political economic strategy and other strategy, well, if he can't play that direction, it corners them even harder, more quickly to needing to shore up economic stuff somewhere else, aka I'd say printing money. I mean, they got to print money. They're gonna have to print money.
Yeah, so that's the oldest trick in the book, right? Like, I mean, as we've discussed a few times, like I'm working on a book that traces monetary history and the origins of monetary systems and durable monetary systems and things like that. And one of the things you will see is that the overwhelming temptation for any state authority is to stretch, right? Like, I mean, it's well known about the Roman denarius, becoming basically like silver washed copper, and but the thing is, even in regimes like in Qin China, they used bronze right out of the gate, so it was kind of a pot metal anyway, and for their coinage. But they ended up like spiraling and having an inflationary spiral. It's just the problem with these feedback mechanisms is you get to a place where it's like things can scale fast and create new frictions, and from those new frictions they come up with ways to try and mitigate the friction, right, or to smooth the friction. But that creates new avenues for more abstract sort of arrangements and more complex instruments, and that creates new frictions, and so they rinse and repeat and spin round and round and round and round and round. It makes for like it makes for the ability of modern society to show up, right? Like it gives us the power to build all of this crazy shit. But it also comes with constraints, and it's always in that tension that we push and stumble and surge and retreat and whatnot. But so when it comes time to like something like this, you kind of go like, well, where are we at now? Well, we're who knows, right? Like what innovation is going to come along that's going to complicate things? What friction is going to come along that's going to make that innovation less helpful? What pushback are they going to get from it? But the likelihood that this turns into something where it's like unsustainable and it collapses, I think is functionally zero. Ultimately, I really believe that. The more I think about it, what I think is more likely to happen is you'll just see shifts and adaptations, and they're going to come up with more and more creative ways to like tinker with things and move things around, and just like they did in the financial crisis, just like they did with the COVID-19, just like they did with 9/11, just like they did with the whatever Black Friday back in the 90s or Black Tuesday in the 90s or whatever. I can't remember Black Friday, Black Tuesday. It was a black day.
Yeah.
And just like they did in the 70s, like it's not like they just let the whole thing collapse. They just go, well, what if we push this here, move this here, print this here, take this away here, move this backstop here, make this backstop this way instead of this way. And what if we just make these people do this on paper, but we actually let them do something else in the background. And that's how we're going to stabilize the whole thing and just keep this little game going. But I think it's so complex now that there's no real lever that anybody can pull or push or touch or yank on without, like this is a Jenga tower, like 100%, right? And the object of this game now is like just make sure the tower keeps going up, so if you had a survival critical infrastructure that 8 billion people are relying on, what's the impetus to let that fail? Like zero. Nobody literally nobody wants that except for the craziest like anarcho-capitalist person in the world. Everyone else
can't let it fail.
Well, it's not even an option, right? Like you just go, well, okay, we're just going to depopulate the planet by 7 billion people. That's fine. Like nobody's going to be down with that, right? Like someone somewhere is going to come on and go, hey, whoa, let's slow down, pump the brakes here, buddy. Like we can certainly find another way to move liquidity around. Like it's not, we're not talking about going to the moon here. We're just talking about changing numbers on a fucking piece of paper, right?
Yeah, we're gonna add zeros to the ledger. Yeah, I think now. So when you talk about the black days, the things that kind of happened suddenly, that was where it was like, oh shit, we're dealing with stuff that came up. There are other times where I think, I guess you could compare it to the fourth turning, but like pressure builds. There's all this pressure and it's ready to crack. It's like something's ready to like pop, and war with Iran or whatever. I don't know. There's all these things just like what is going to happen. And I feel like those are times when they prep a political narrative, a huge political narrative to kind of front load reasons for massive, say, money printing, where it's not a concession to bad economic situations. It's like, here's a huge reason, and oh yeah, we're printing money. Like COVID was. COVID was like, here's this big thing, and behind that, we're going to print the money. I feel like that's what's coming, is this pressure build up to a pop or something, just a roiling thing's going to be going on, behind which will be the most massive printing we've seen in a long time.
Maybe.
That's my theory.
I mean, it's interesting. I don't give them, quote unquote, the air quotes them, as much agency as that. Like I don't think there's a cabal of people that are sitting around, orchestrating world affairs, right? Like I don't think that's possible. Like not that it's implausible. I think it's implausible. I think, to say, hey, there's 15 people that decide the fate of the world, or 30 people or 100 people or whatever. I go, that just ignores all of the existing friction in the system already, right? It ignores all the ways that people can circumvent, get around, work around, all that kind of stuff. And modernly, those gates are like, they're becoming more porous, not less, right? Like it's not like people are bound to their region so much. I mean, you're watching massive floods of people just like leave places and go somewhere else, and it's causing strain in the places where they're showing up, but there's nothing stopping them. You know what I mean? There's no force field around, the United States or United Kingdom or something like that. That's all huge amounts of friction, right? Like those are like illegible populations that are just flooding into new areas, almost unchecked. And there's not a political willpower to curtail that or fix it or stomp it out or whatever. So there's going to be some sort of localized pushback to that kind of thing. But like in terms of a global thing, like I think the closest thing you could possibly come up with is the COVID-19 thing. And there's still at least a plausible scenario there where they were genuinely concerned about that, regardless of origins. There were enough thoughtful, conscientious people that were going like, hey, whether or not there was some profit motive that got the thing kicked off, whether or not there was some accident, whether or not it was some natural phenomenon, like just strip away all those arguments. You go, at the end of the day, there was something floating around in the air that people were worried about, right? So if we can just look at it from that point, and I know people will say, well, it was just the flu, it was this, that, and the other thing. And I would just counter like, well, I worked in an institution where I saw people die from it. So anecdotal experience when you're sitting in your bedroom or sitting in your living room going like, no, this doesn't do anything to you, to, lived experience where I was in an institution where this was a concentrated, unit that was supervising these people and watching a healthy percentage of them go out to the ICU and not come back. So, in the rest of the time in the prison system, I did not see any other disease doing that. Like there was no wave of flu where like dozens of people would leave the unit and never return because they got the flu. But I saw dozens of people leave these units and not come back because of COVID, right? So it was a different kind of thing. So in terms of orchestrating that, I can see how people would capitalize on it. Certainly people did. It looks pretty obvious that people capitalized on that thing and bent it towards their will. But I just don't know if there's like some grand scheme where like, well, pressure's building, so we better have some plans in the background, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and maybe ultimately it's fairly reactionary, but they're they're cornered on one side with political drama, they're cornered on the other side with tariff stuff, and it's just kind of like trying to maintain the system, maintain power, maintain control, and it's kind of like this, that, war, and I don't know. Ultimately, they got to go push a direction and maintain a system, and I just don't know how they avoid an ultimate direction with their money.
Well, I mean, there's like that's what I'm kind of getting at is like the way, like, how did we get through 2008? Well, they printed, but they also like moved backstops. They changed liquidity requirements. They just moved a bunch of numbers all around the board, right? Just like they went, well, what if we put this here? What if we put this here? What if we build this little pillar here? And what if we like pull this Jenga block out and put it over here instead? And and so it was a delicate thing because in that moment, the whole thing was the Jenga tower kind of doing this little number, and they're just like, oh, that's not good. We better, oh shit, like, what can we do here, right? And I think that's kind of closer to the reality on the ground. Is like it's not so much like, hey, let's figure out a way to knock this over so we can add some new shit that we like. I think it's kind of like, I think this is stable. I don't know. Like, is it, okay. Oh, okay. That's good. All right. So it's still working. But all these pressures that we're talking about, like citizens right now, just Joe Plumber, is going to the grocery store and going, hey, this sucks. Like I used to be able to do X and now I can't do X anymore. This is frustrating, right? So that starts pushing that Jenga tower over a little bit and people start going, oh, well, we better address that because we don't, and so they'll shore it up one way, but that's going to create some other like, big, huge hole for someone else to commit fraud and do all kinds of stupid shit. So it's going to start tilting the other way. And so the whole exercise is just like trying to keep this thing from falling over constantly. And so when you introduce like a shock, like like 2008. Like that's like someone came and bumped the table. I'm like, oh shit, whoops, what happened? Like, dude, you just hit the whole table. Like, what do you do? You can't hit the table like that, you know? And I think the same thing was true with COVID. But the problem is like those are on the fly solutions that have to happen rapidly because the tower is leaning, right? So when they make rapid decisions, they end up creating like holes that are way larger than they probably intended. And the effect of what those holes do won't be seen for another 5 or 10 years. Or, you know, like we're starting to see the whole, like the big problem they created with the whole lockdown idea was that they quadrupled the float of, you know, units that are out in the monetary system worldwide. Everybody feels that. So they basically took a table bump. Somebody somewhere let this thing out. Some animal somewhere did the wrong thing, and somebody ate the wrong thing, and it got out. Whatever origin story you want to hang your hat on doesn't really matter. Something got out in the world, and that was like someone literally, some drunk just stumbled into the table and went, "Donk, what's up, bro?" You know. And so they made a lot of holes, right? But we're starting to see the results of that now. There's someone else coming and kicking the table, going, "Hey, hey, bang, bang," you know. So they're gonna do something. And I don't necessarily think that just means they have to print. Like I think there are probably other things we haven't thought of that they might try and do, you know.
I'm just trying to manage what that is. And the game and the grift and the graft is the pulling of the Jenga. Like they know what they're doing in various ways. They're constantly picking and pulling and, you know, repackaging garbage home loans and calling them subprime. And yeah, let's just go with that. Like they know what they're doing. So then 2008 happens. Like, what just happened? Oh my goodness. Yeah, kind of a surprise. And also like, you didn't know this was garbage? You didn't know that was garbage?
Well, my question to that is like, well, how come you didn't know it was garbage? How come everyone else didn't know it was garbage? Right.
I guess I wasn't underwriting any loans or paying attention. I don't know. I'm not in the finance world.
Yeah, but that's exactly the point, right? Is like how many people were doing that? How many people really did know? How many people were just taking advantage of like a free money spigot? How many people were just like, I don't care, it's not my problem? How many people were just kind of going with the flow? Like millions. So, you know, to say well, these people knew what they were doing was toxic. And I go, well, what these people knew was they were making money, right? So the incentive said like, I don't know, I got some guy with a PhD whose primary field is astrophysics. And he's got this calculation that I think maybe 15 people on planet Earth can actually read and then check the math and go, yep, this is correct. Like they can proof that equation out. So when that guy is standing before you and saying with 89% confidence this thing will never collapse, but meanwhile you're going to make, you know, $4.3 billion over the next 10 years, they go, I don't know, guy, look, that's my quant. You see him, he's Asian. You know what I mean? Like that's literally the level of thought that's going into this kind of thing. And if you are able to mask yourself and bury yourself inside these equations, and Nassim Taleb was one of those guys that kind of uncorked that a little bit and was like, hey, just so you know, like these equations like grossly underestimate tail risks, right? Like that's black swan. And that's literally what that entire book was about, is about like these boffins come in, these PhDs with astrophysics degrees and bio or bio whatever degrees, and they come up with complex mathematical schemes that can apply to like biological systems or astrophysical phenomena or even physics phenomena, but they don't necessarily apply to financial instruments. So they can kind of, it's kind of like that guy that does the you know, what's the power law thing? Like you can twist math to fit all kinds of shit. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have any value as a predictive tool in a tail event, right? So that's where that kind of gets confused. But to say like they know what they're doing, I go, well, they know that they can make money this way, and it doesn't look like the Jenga tower is going to fall over when they do it. Is the kind of closer amount of agency I would assign to these people.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately, like, well, who do we put in to fix the problem? The exact people that were involved in the problem, straight out of Goldman Sachs or whatever, and that's where it starts to feel. Not to say it was completely contrived. It's just that, yeah, they're making money on the way up, and boy, they made money on the way down. And gosh darn it, that sure was a surprise. But I mean, Johnny can feel it pumping in the air tonight. I can feel it pumping in the air
Oh my
tonight.
God.
I can feel it pumping in
Oh
the
no, no. I'm leaving.
Don't you like that song?
No, it's great. Yeah, sure. I'm always a little curious about that origin story about that, but I don't know. I read something like when I was 13 about what that song was about. And then, well, it was something about like he saw some, like his girlfriend, this is Phil Collins' girlfriend, got like assaulted or raped or something like that. And the guy that did it got away. And then later on, Phil Collins saw the guy drowning and he let him die. And I think
Really?
that's the story I recall from being 13. How accurate that is, I don't know, but it's like one of those stories where I've kind of kept it as like, oh, well, that's an interesting origin for this story. And I've never verified it or looked into it any further or checked it or, you know, but there was something about.
Quick AI take is it was driven by the raw anger, despair, and frustration from his divorce from his first wife. Emerged during a dark period in his life when he found himself alone, having lost family.
See the myth right there. The myth. Popular false urban legend suggests the song is about a person witnessing a drowning. Yeah, that's literally the story I remember hearing. Like
he firmly denied that on the Smooth Jazz Network.
I didn't watch nobody die.
Huh. Well, that's,
I mean,
interesting.
But if you want to talk incentives, you go, well, did you let a man die and he not care? Like, that's probably not something you want to admit on the record. You probably want to vehemently deny that.
The Big Short. Who was that guy that the character of The Big Short? He knew what was going on.
Oh, the one. Remember. Well, there's a handful of them in that movie there were like the two or three guys that were just like, there was Michael Burry. The guy that kind of participated in one of the Big Shorts where he almost
Michael
lost
Burry.
Yeah, he almost lost his company because he kept gambling on this, like, this thing's gonna fall apart, watch. And people are just like, you're killing us, man. Everyone's making money and we're losing money. He's like, no. I don't care. And he fought it. And I mean, he made a bunch of people a bunch of money, but I don't think his company, like, he's famous and popular in some circles, but many of his investors bailed right after that. So it's
Michael Burry, the investor who predicted the.
But even that, like, people will look at that guy and go, he prognosticated this. He picked it. He figured it out. He knew it was coming and he capitalized on it. Right. And he's sort of held up in some circles as like a hero, a guy that kind of figured this all out. But, yeah, the Steve Carell character was the other guy who was sort of like acting more conscientious about it. Don't dance, or whatever it was, or maybe that was Brad Pitt's character. I don't know. There's such a, I get them all confused with the real personalities, but what I'm at the end of that is like a couple of things could have gone differently, and Michael Burry would be just a broke guy, right? Like he would just be bankrupt right now. Like they could have chose different paths. Yeah. Like tiny little decisions on the way. Do we let Lehman collapse or no? Well, let's fix Lehman, right? Like had they just done that, then maybe Michael Burry is now a broke guy who's getting sued into oblivion and he's living in a box begging on the corner going, but I thought it was I could see it coming. These people don't understand, or what happened did happen and and now he's Michael Burry, so to assign some sort of legacy agency to people with hindsight, I think is problematic.
Yeah, I can see that. And I guess, time will tell. It's just, things are getting weird. It's just the mainstream news narrative. It's just like, I mean, yesterday at work, just the easy round the water cooler type talk was all the weirdness. And Epstein was an easy one, continues to be. The more they keep looking and like, what does this and that mean? Like, oh my goodness, how it's hard not to imagine things about all that. And then lo and behold, aliens. Okay, let's talk about that. It's an endless, it's a warren of rabbit trails.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But the warren is all, it very much depends on what bubble you're in, right? Because our bubble, we're like Epstein files and, what happened to Prince Andrew, the former Prince Andrew.
Oh yeah, he got arrested.
Yeah, he's going to jail now. And like, in our circle, in our media slot, wherever we've been algorithmically slotted, these are like huge topics, right? If you were over on Blue Sky, they're not talking about Epstein. They're talking about ICE.
Trump.
Yeah. So for them, the weird is like Trump is president. That's weird, right? We've got federal agents in the street enforcing laws. Weird, right? But that's so their sense of like everything is getting weird, everything is getting crazy, is shaped. It's curated, right? And it's curated towards a funnel, but the funnel at the end of it all is like attention and monetization, and then moving on, and then pressure release, and then more attention, right? So, and you can just see it in the feed. If you went on Blue Sky right now and you just started following a bunch of accounts that hate Trump and like pro ICE and blah 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 blah, just do it as an experiment, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about, right? Because eventually the things you hover on, the things you like, if you don't hover on the things that normally you do hover on, like, you know, like, oh, here's a guy fighting with the cops and the cops shot him kind of thing, right? If you avoid those, you'll start to see that your feed is going to get curated the same way. It's just what it highlights is going to be very different, because it's going to be outrage, 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 cute kitty, funny dance video, outrage, 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 funny dog playing the piano, blah, blah, blah. Some guy in a tutu doing something funny, something ideologically aligned, but cute and, you know, offbeat, back to the outrage. And that's what your feed is going to look like. It's just the source of your outrage is going to be altered significantly just by what you're hovering on Blue Sky versus what you hover on at Twitter or what you hover on Facebook. And that's how that algorithmic game goes. So yes, we are all sitting around going like, oh my God, everything's so weird. And think about all this Epstein stuff is going blah. Well, that's where you're slotted right now. Like it's more an indicator of where you've been algorithmically, you know, bucketed more than what's actually happening in the world. Because if you just step away from the water cooler and walk outside and you go, what happened? What's going on right now? What's the emergency? And you'll look around and you'll see what? Well, there's, I don't know. It just kind of looks the same to me.
It was a boring day at work, to be honest.
Right. And it's a boring day everywhere. Like if you just walk out in the street, it's just boring right now. There's nothing going on.
It was same old ditch digging. Yeah. Burry could have bought a lot of Bitcoin if he
could you imagine?
Yeah, back then, like
he could have bought all the Bitcoin.
Could have just bought Bitcoin, you know. But yeah, there is. So, you know, if Trump's saying it, it's like, well, okay, well, that's for reasons for something. Even if I step back and just see it like, well, Trump is talking about this now. What does it mean? Where's that going? I don't know. Like my life hasn't changed. It's kind of like TikTok next block, just chipping in the salt mine and staying humble and stacking sats. I guess media platforms naturally, they want the engagement. So perhaps just through that organic movement, it's engagement farming. But it's building this pressure. I don't know, for people.
Well, I mean, what you said, I think is a perfect example. Go to Nostr right now. Tell me how outraged you get by the end of the time you spend on Nostr. Like, just tell me how pissed you are. Tell me, you know, and I go, it's not going to happen. So it's not organic, right? That's the key point here is like, if you want to see organic engagement with topics, go to Nostr and just go float around for a while. It doesn't matter how many Bitcoin commentaries you like. Like your feed is still going to be populated with a bunch of shit where you're just like, what the hell is this, dude? Like this doesn't apply to me at all. I don't care about any of this stuff. Like, you know, there's going to be some rando guy talking about like, you know, how to identify personality disorders, and some other rando is going to be talking about his painting, and some other guy is going to have a photo of like Miami, and it's all more dependent on the buckets you pick versus what the buckets the algorithms are picking for you, right? So. Yeah. To call it an organic engagement that's building tension, I go, well, it's an inorganic curated pipeline that is designed to maximize your time dwelling on content so they can figure out how best to sell things. And that is literally everything that they're focused on. That's all they care about right now is like, how can I get this guy into a tighter, more granular bucket so I can have more attractive pricing points for advertisers and more attractive data bundles to sell to other people for reasons, right? So
yeah.
So when you feel that tension, you're being manipulated is what I'm getting at, is like that's not an organic tension, because the organic tension, if there's any organic tension, walk outside your door and tell me how tense you feel. If you think about the things you were reading on Twitter or on Blue Sky or wherever it is you happen to get your stuff, and then you walk outside and you're still feeling that, but you're looking around and going, well, I need to get in my car. I need to go to the grocery store. I need to buy groceries. I'm not walking out in any American city and seeing like cities are on fire and everybody's starving and there's bread lines and nobody can get to work and the power's going out everywhere and the internet stopped working and there's National Guard troops in every city and they're guarding checkpoints and there's burning tire barricades in the back alleys. Like, I don't see any of that shit, right? Like, what I see is just like, well, it's just kind of the same as it was 10 years ago as it was 10 years before that, and pretty much the same as it was 10 years before that. Like, last time I remember a great big like public display of stress was like people lining up at the gas station in the 1970s. Like, since then, you know, like 9/11 was certainly a big public event. You go, oh, that was a big change. COVID was a big change because you drive out and you go, wow, there's half the traffic, right? Like, but in terms of just like what epic catastrophic thing are we confronted with right now on a day-to-day basis? I don't know. I mean, there are people that are confronted with this. Like, if you live in Gaza right now, life's not great. If you live in Somalia, life's not great. If you live in, you know, Kingston, Jamaica, life's probably not great. But for the most part, most places are just kind of like just doing their thing, you know?
Yeah, I guess you'll see a creeping, you know, people on the street laying around, trash mongering and stuff. Let's glancing at my Noster feed real quick.
Yeah, choose your own silo. That's exactly what I'm getting at. Yeah, like I mean,
choose your own silo. And yeah, life's good, especially like if you live on a farm, your farm's, you know, chickens are clucking. Life is, I mean, let's see. So none of it good.
Fast company. Yeah.
Enjoy communism. Music. Fiat Joff's music.
Tucker Carlson.
That's Carlson. Oh yeah, Tucker talked to Huckabee in Israel. Huckabee's sucking off Israel, and Tucker's like, but why genocide? Mortgage delinquencies rising. Prime books hit after subprime.
Yeah, so there's
food, meat.
Yeah, but what's your curation, right?
A lot of podcasts. There's Tony.
Yeah.
So like, I like what, you know, Tony, what do you think of the Bitcoin way? Let's talk about the Bitcoin way. They remain very based and plan B and Bitcoin only. And they're like, pay attention, get out of it's coming everywhere. It says,
right.
Look, rioters on the streets and fire.
Yeah.
Well, that's, you know, that's thumbnail clickbaity.
Yeah.
Music.
Honey Badger doesn't care.
Honey Badger don't care.
Well, but I mean, compare this feed to your Twitter feed, right? Like, what I'm getting at here is you chose these buckets, right? Like you chose your silo. Yeah, COVID was great for traffic. I was actually kind of bummed when they started lifting lockdown. I was what was that? The vital employee, the necessary employee, you know, like me and the McDonald's workers were the people that were allowed to go to work, right? I worked in a prison, so I didn't get to stay at home and like work from home and manage the unit.
Yeah, home. I still went to work.
Yeah, I had to show up, you know. But I just remember like driving around, like the toilet paper thing was a little frustrating because there was two things. Like, I always keep a little hand sanitizer around because I'm one of these guys, like you'll probably notice I'm always like goofing around my face. And so I found that like I find it really difficult to not goof around with my face. But I do find it pretty easy to just like slap some hand sanitizer on once in a while, so I'm not just like actively rubbing the fluid into my eyeballs and shit like that. So I just remember I went like people were just flipping out, dude, and I will never forget just kind of driving around going like, it's pretty weird. I can get to work in like 20 minutes. That's kind of cool. I went to the grocery store and like, you know, there's masks and all this kind of shit, and I went and I was like, okay, well, there's all the food that I want. that's not a problem. I'll just pick up some toilet paper. Oh, huh. Okay. I guess I'm going with some Scott, like
hand towels.
Scott sandpaper toilet paper for this week. That's good. But then I went back and my roommate was like, "Oh, what'd you buy toilet paper for?" I got like 14,000 boxes of this shit in the garage. I'm just like, "Oh, you're the reason." Okay, cool. And then the other one was hand sanitizer. I was like, "Oh, I'll just get some hand." Oh, that's not a thing anymore. And I ended up like buying this stuff. It was essentially moonshine with some like flavoring in it to make it so you couldn't drink the shit, right? And, like all these booze companies were like, "Hey, we got a bunch of like unfiltered moonshine. We can just sell that as hand sanitizer." I think they made a killing. But those are the two, like, it was overall for me, it was great. Like, aside from the fact that I was exposed to a potentially deadly pathogen daily, routinely, and I had to deal with a bunch of institutional nonsense based on institutional rules that were based on just preposterous ideas to begin with. The rest of the time was mostly just like, meh, okay, just doing my thing. I still had to show up. I still had to go to muster. I still had to sit there and listen to shit. I still got bucketed 3 times a week, and someone came along and said, "Hey, you're number 2 in the bucket." Like, I only slept 3 hours, and like, yeah, well, you're in the bucket, And then I was still making the same phone calls, like, "Hey, do you guys want to split a shift tonight? I'm number 2 on the list," that kind of shit. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's mandatory overtime and ways to try and navigate that. So
yeah.
But other than that, like, all I know is like I could leave work like home later and still get to work on time. Pretty awesome. I had to get my temperature taken. I had to put on a mask, and I spent a lot of time just like watching people get sick, just going like, okay. Otherwise, it was just business as usual,
Yeah. Constantly, it's great for traffic. Yeah, it's like, well, and even to this day, I mean, we lost a lot of people to COVID, but most of them are all alive. And even now, it's like, I got COVID, and I'm like, you gonna be okay? Like, you can be sick, right? Like, I did not test myself, shall not test myself. But yesterday I was driving across county for court, and I saw a person driving all by themselves with a mask on, and I'm just like, I'm trying to get my mind around what circumstance that might make sense, and I think there were a lot of people that got stuck and are stuck, but
yeah. Well, I mean that, like that, it kind of all traces back to what I'm sort of trying to circle here is like the news. I just posted this on Twitter the other day. I said, look, if there's some tragedy that's behind a paywall, that tells you everything you need to know about what's important about that story, right? And what's important about that story is like, hey, this is clickbait. Someone will click on this because it's going to invoke some emotion, and then they're going to read it and they're going to feel an emotion. But Bill Burr was talking to like Conan O'Brien and some chick, and he was telling some story about like where, to just give some context, like he told this story about he was watching the news, his wife was sitting there, and it was about some lady that got, beat up or something like that. And he said, I wonder what she did before, like, I wonder what she said right before she got her ass kicked. And the wife just got pissed and furious and stormed out of the room. And, but I guess her mom came a few days later, same story came on the news. And her mom was like, I wonder what she said before she got her ass kicked. The daughter/wife got super furious, but Bill Burr at the end of it was like, I don't even get what the news is about. Like, hey, here's a bunch of shit you can get really pissed off about. Can't do anything about it. Can't change it. Nothing. It's just, here you go. Just be pissed off. See you later. Like, what's the fucking point, right? And what we're seeing with these social media feeds is like literally that on steroids. Just like, here's a bunch of shit you can be mad about. How mad are you now? Great. You want to scroll onto the puppy video before we piss you off again? You're just like, But if you just step away from the algorithm, if you just turn that shit off, like life doesn't look the same. Like, and since I mean, I need to be on the damn platforms because I it's part of the business and promotion and advertising and awareness and yada, yada, yada. And yet there's like, every time I look at it, I was like, this is just like, it almost looks comical. And that's one of the things I think the reason I talk this way and the reason I sort of like push back on these ideas and narratives about like how bad things are getting or how bad they might get is because I think there's a certain clarity. Like, if you remember The Matrix, the hero moment wasn't when he decided to fight a robot or when he decided to learn kung fu. The hero moment was, I choose clarity over comfort, right? And from clarity, you can make better decisions about how to navigate the world. I think that's my personal opinion. So when I hear or see people that are or narratives or stories or timelines or anything where people are getting amped up on shit, I'm always just like, if you kind of step back and look at the institution that's driving this and the institutional incentives that make this thing possible, happen, profitable, you start to see why these things exist. And then you can start to see like, oh, I don't necessarily have to participate in this. Like, I get it. It can be a good, it's actually, it's more fun to be in line scrolling than it is to just stare at the fat lady in front of you. Right. But if you can separate that and just be clear enough to go, this is the matrix I'm looking at. Every time you're scrolling that thing, you go, that's the matrix. I'm looking at the matrix. I know none of this is real. None of this matters to me. I can just, and get away from all of this and not suffer the consequences. I won't die because I can dodge these bullets is kind of what I'm getting at. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it. And so I have to balance like wanting to not be completely naive and like, I don't know what's going on, or I'm not kind of imagining the game theory about it, but not getting sucked into it. So,
exactly.
And it's like work where like the work remains, but there are people I work with, and we've talked about this, but there are people at work who choose to make work, just work, kind of a soap opera drama thing that's going on that we're like a part of. So, and it gives some sense of meaning and it taps into emotions. And after a while, maybe it's my tenure or my age or just kind of like, I'm just kind of like, it's fine. Like, but they could sue us. Yeah. Okay. So say we get sued. I testify. You've ever testified before? Oh, you have. Okay. Yeah. So
all right.
testify, tell them what we did and why. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't care. So it's balancing. It's not that it completely doesn't affect me. It's just that the emotion is, I try not to get caught up in the madness of crowds.
Yeah. That's exactly it. That's exactly what I'm.
The madness.
You have a clarity. Like, you've been doing this long enough that you have clarity about this whole system, right? You don't see the institution for like, we're here to, recondition felons, right? And you don't see all the hand wringing and all the crazy like potential problems that can come from this job. You just go, I know the institutional reality here. Like, we have to basically try and do our best. If something fucks up, we'll fix it somehow. We're going to figure out a way to get through it. In the meantime, let's just kind of keep the machine going. Let's just keep doing our thing. There's no point in getting wrapped up in all this shit and fretting about it endlessly, because it's just burning energy that can be better spent on yourself, on getting your paperwork stacked down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what I'm essentially trying to apply here is the same thing to the world writ large, because the entire world is run by institutions. It's not like a bunch of people just hanging out and doing shit. There are institutions that fix the roads and set the monetary policy and set the algorithms for these are all institutions, and they all have institutional logics. And what the same experience that you have that's hard earned from being a professional and a tenured professional in a very, very deeply institutionally mediated field, you can see with clarity. You took the red pill a while ago and you went, oh, I don't have to just like slip down every time someone comes in the office with some fucking emergency that's going to go away tomorrow or next week.
Oh no. Yeah, anyway.
Right. Yeah. So it doesn't make you like, it's not to say like you should just like tune out and just go, I don't have to deal with anything. Fuck, or nothing matters. Like, it's not nihilism, right? Because you're not nihilistic at work. You just go, okay, I get it. Are you dying right now? No. Is your supervisee dying right now? No, but he might. Okay, well, try and shore that up. If he does, it happens, but we'll deal with that when it happens. Otherwise, do your best. Okay. Are you okay? You gonna be okay? You know what I mean? And that's exactly what I'm saying here. Is like people going, the tension and Epstein and UFOs, and they're trying to distract us from the real story. And I go, okay, is anything happening to you right now? You go, well, yeah, I'm all tense and freaked out because I read something on fucking Twitter. And you go, okay, but are you going to be okay?
You going to be okay? That's the thing I say.
Exactly.
You going to be okay?
Right? And that's kind of what I'm trying to lean towards is like, if it's something where like you can look out the window and go, oh, things are bad. Like there's a tank going down the street. Like I should probably be doing something right now. That's a different matter than like, well, there's a bunch of shit on Twitter. It looks like it might turn into something maybe someday if we don't do, and maybe the Fed does, maybe this, maybe, because it's all just like those institutional logics are different than your logic. And the logic that orients you to how you should interpret those institutional logics are curated and managed to maximize your attention span, not to fix the institution, not to come up with valid solutions. But with clarity, you can start looking around and going like, okay, where am I really operating here? What is really going on in the world? What are these institutions really doing to me? And what are my possible avenues of like dealing with that? And that's Bitcoin, right? Like the beauty of Bitcoin is it gives you one of those, you go, oh, well, I know what the institution, I roughly know what the institution of the monetary people are trying to do. And if you have some clarity about that rather than a tribal identity about that, then it makes it a lot easier to go, oh, I can see where Bitcoin fits in this. And it's actually a valuable tool that I can use in my arsenal, and many other people can use in their arsenal as well, to get away from the actual institutional problem I'm confronted with, not the political problem I'm confronted with, not the news terror, fear problem that people are trying to foist upon me. I can look at the actual problem. I can look at the actual institutional mechanics, and I can look at the actual mechanism that can help me escape that, or at least mitigate the effects of it. And that's Bitcoin and gold. And there's all kinds of things where you can kind of go, oh, I can kind of see a little carve out. So getting back to like the Bitcoin way, I don't think, I mean, I think they kind of lean into the like, everything's about to collapse, you should protect yourself. But within that narrative, I think there's a lot of very, very valuable tool sets in there. Like, hey, maybe it would be a good idea to have another address and another passport somewhere. But just in the core of that, but if you back up even an inch before that, you go, just have a passport to begin with, right? Like that's an important thing. And there's a lot of people that don't have that. So there's all these little like things where you can look at the institution and go, well, historically speaking, sometimes things in certain local locations can get kind of problematic. So I should probably have a way to mitigate that if possible, right? Like just because LA erupts in flames, like I was in LA during the earthquakes, during the big Northridge quake, right? And I turned on the news and it was like, LA is done. It's collapsed. There's food lines. People can't get water. Buildings have collapsed. Freeways have collapsed. Everything is shut down. Blah, blah, blah. And then I walked outside and went, wait a minute. Like the biggest impact I had from that was like I opened my cabinet and all the canned food fell out. I went, oh, probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should have opened that cabinet slower, right? But for the most part, and I was getting phone calls all the time, like all day long. Oh my God, are you okay? Is everything? I'm like, yeah, like there's literally nothing happening right now.
March safe from the mind virus.
Yeah, yeah, and exactly. There's no clarity like Bitcoin clarity.
Bitcoin kind of fixes the mind virus, and it's just yeah.
But
and I love listening to Tony. They did a collaborative show. Michael Jordan, Tony, and who was the other guy? Steve, or I can't remember his name, but from Australia. And I love listening to it because it gets me thinking about we saw it here in Lebanon, and we're seeing it here in Australia, and we're seeing this in the UK, and like, don't think it can't happen to you. So short of getting caught up in the emotions about it, just rationally have your preparations together. Don't be stuck. Don't be caught off guard, but don't get caught up in it either. So it's that balance, the middle path route of it all.
Yeah. But I mean, I love those guys because what they're talking about doing are sources of friction for the institutions that we're talking about. The institutions we're most concerned about are the people that are debasing our money. The institutions we're concerned about are the people that are making it so our political systems are destabilized and all those kind of things. And they're providing very clear solutions for that. They go, here you go. Here are ways to insulate yourself from those problems. those institutional logics that can come to bear upon you in ways you don't like, there are other institutional escape valves that you can utilize right now and you can have in place. You don't ever have to trigger them, so to speak, but they can be available sources for you, right? And I think that's valuable. Whether or not they're using like a sort of like fear of the collapse kind of narrative to drive people to that solution or not doesn't matter to me. The fact is the solution is valid. The logic behind it is valid, and it lines up with other institutional logics that they are very much addressing. Lebanon is a very different country than the United States of America or Germany, right? Like those are way, way, way different political economies, and they're not even close in terms of like ability to quote unquote collapse internally or endogenously, I guess. So, you know, like it's that clarity I think is key. If you're going to navigate an increasingly complicated social political environment, the more clarity you have, I think the better armed you're going to be for being able to do that coherently without succumbing to fear or panic or over enthusiasm or sort of Pollyanna like, you know, the future is going to be pristine. But I think it tends to lean towards like, well, if you look at it from an institutional perspective, chances are good it's going to get better, not worse, is sort of where I end up landing from my perspective of my particular clarity, right? So that's, which, you know, it's funny because like when we have these conversations and I hear things about like how the tension and the fourth turning and this, and I'm kind of like, yeah, it's just like everything is so interconnected now. Like there's, you know, if you're talking like when people are talking about a collapse scenario, you're talking about like a population extinction event. You're not talking about like things are going to be chaotic for a little while until Bitcoin saves the day, right? You're talking like entire swaths of humanity are going to be dead. And I don't think that's a great way to go. Oh, yeah.
Johnny lost his apartment in Studio City during the Northridge earthquake. Supposed to be home, bumped his flight back, watched it on TV, watched it from Chicago.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I was in Burbank, so I had to go to work the next day, and that sucked because all our fucking tapes and film rolls fell off the fucking shelves, and we had to pick all that shit up and reorganize it. So that was a real pain in the ass. But the building was still there, you know, the roads were still there, everything was fine. I mean, like people got hurt. I'm not saying like nothing.
Yeah,
right.
Well, and it's like we experience these types of things like the same event occurs, but it was a recession to someone whose neighbor was unemployed. It's a depression for someone who was unemployed.
Right.
So it's like until it affects you, it's like, oh man, there's a big riot and a fire, but well, I don't live downtown. Right. But for them, it was like trauma.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
But, so just thinking that this was the talk I was thinking about. It was who was it? Steve Hudson.
I don't know who that is.
Or no, Adam Hudson. Tony, it's he's from Australia. Anyway, he and Tony are good friends, I think. So they look at Panama as a nice place to be as their plan B. They like Panama a lot.
Yeah, well, Panama's got some interesting jurisdictional stuff about it and interesting ties to the United States. But I mean, some of these plan B ideas, you can go from a place that might have localized tension and end up in a place that has like massively draconian sort of problems. So it's not a foolproof solution, right? Like Panama is not historically known for being the most politically stable, and it is a massive target for United States intervention because of the Panama Canal, right? Like that.
I think like 80% of their revenue is the canal.
Yeah, well, that's a major shipping transit point, right? So it's kind of like, you know, in terms of a place where you might want to flee, quote unquote. But places like Panama are cool because they have some interesting, you know, like legal structures. And like if you just go look at the Panama Papers, I don't know if you remember that big trove ages ago, but you can kind of pad yourself out a lot, right? So the advice they're kind of giving is essentially more like act like a rich person, right? Like protect yourself like a rich person protects themselves, not like a poor person protects themselves, right? Like a poor person protects themselves by having savings in the mattress and hoping they don't end up in a bread line. You can protect yourself by having jurisdictional flexibility and different regimes where you can kind of park things, but you don't have to be rich to do that. You can do that with very modest means. and just give yourself some escape valves. And like Bitcoin is one of those great things because you can separate your monetary savings from the system writ large, right? From the institutions that control access and gate access to that. And that's one of the most powerful things about it is like you have a right of exclusion that can't be infringed by the sovereign, by anybody, really.
Mm-hmm.
So they can still kind of come and button you up, but aside from you getting buttoned up personally, it gives you a lot of room to maneuver. But like you said, it's more about like people that are being locally affected in the moment. But like even those Portland, you remember all the Portland riots?
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember driving through Portland. I go, where are the Portland riots? Oh, it's like that 2 blocks right there.
Yeah, I just don't drive right downtown there.
But if you watch the news, the national news, it looks like the entire city of Portland was on fire. If you were actually in Portland on the street, you didn't even know it was happening unless you happened to be in that 2 blocks where the flashpoint was. Same thing in Seattle with the CHOP district and all that kind of stuff. If you weren't right in the middle of that little zone, there was no other thing. During Occupy Wall Street, the entire city of New York just worked just fine, except for that one little strip where they had a bunch of people in tents, banging drums and sitting around smoking pot or whatever they were doing during Occupy. So these are highly, highly, highly localized things. But that was the same thing in Northridge. Like my buddy lived in Northridge, the guy I worked with. He said it was really weird because I was watching the news and there were literally people lining up at the Smiths or the Safeway or whatever it was right down the street from my house. And then I drove a mile further to Woodland Hills and I just went to the store. And you think about that and you go, there's a bunch of people watching the news, getting curated media, and then queuing up at a store to get barren shelves so they can get staples. Meanwhile, 1 mile away, not even like you could walk to the next store, just walk in and get everything you need. No line, no difference, no nothing. Like it was just like, oh, I'm just going shopping. And that's, to keep circling back to the social media narratives and stuff, I go, just drive another mile and see what you see before you start freaking out about stuff.
Yeah. And then just generally, I'd say, like, if you're a business owner and you had a business in Portland, or you were either affected directly because you're in those blocks, or you're just a block or 5 blocks away, and you're like, oh, yeah. And Mamdani is going to increase property taxes like 10x or whatever. And it's like, cities are like a litmus test for that social experiment being functional or not, or what could occur. I guess generally, like, I guess I can be grateful. Like, okay, I don't live in a big city, so it's easy to be like, well, that sucks. Well,
but
I don't know. Things could occur that could be very real to more and more people, just depending on what it is. And I don't know.
Well, but that, if it gets too like, that's what they're getting really good at is like the pressure release valve, right? Like, and I think a lot of the social media stuff is serving that function. But even with Mamdani, like he can propose all he wants, just like Trump can propose all he wants. That where that runs into a wall is when it gets to the courts, and then that whole scheme gets bogged down for like months and years, and and then he's going to twist that into like his political thing, and then things are going to continue to degrade. And then he'll get voted out. Like that's just how that works, right? Like there's no, and then the next guy will come along and promise, like I'm gonna clean up this, blah 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 blah. Everything he wants to do or she wants to do is going to get sued into the ground, and so they're just going to make some incremental progress towards one little thing that's going to open up a bunch of holes for something else, and off they go. They're just going to keep sort of like, if you want to see a really interesting experiment in this, like go look at El Salvador and you go, well, if you just suspend the Constitution and install a guy that doesn't mind like breaking out the forces and really shaking things up, you're looking at incremental progress forever, and most countries can't tolerate that level of intervention at that level. But El Salvador was also a place where there was massive foreign intervention for decades.
Mm-hmm.
So it was destabilized enough that you could pull something like that off. And it's now becoming stable enough that it's worth investing into again, or becoming worth investing into again.
Mm-hmm.
But New York City is not El Salvador. There's 3 times the population just in New York City than the entire country of El Salvador. So you know, it's how you execute these changes. Like I said, I see the sort of stress about Mondami and he's bringing communism, yada yada. It's not a great political environment, I don't think, but I think ultimately, like his policies are going to get curtailed, slammed. Just like Keir Starmer is getting slammed now and is going to have to pivot. Like everywhere they go, they have to pivot if they want to stay in power because the paths to navigate are so narrow now. There's just nowhere for anybody to really go, absent some sort of like, oh, the Jenga tower is about to fall over, and then all of a sudden, all kinds of things become possible, and they don't necessarily work the way they're intended or sold, and they don't necessarily benefit the little people underneath, but they kind of keep the whole thing going. So I don't know. I'm just not that. I'm just
not rattled
stuff. Yeah, I'm just kind of
when
like,
the aliens land, you will say, okay,
this is a thing.
This is a thing.
I need to pay attention now.
You know, when Maduro got captured, it made me think of Panama because I remember, I guess I was old enough to start paying attention to politics, and my parents were just really political about things and protest-wise and things. But I remember Noriega getting captured in Panama, and it was sort of like one of those things that just up and happened, and it was like, okay, there's the canal and all, but like, how big of a problem is Noriega? What is Noriega's deal? Is it like he surrendered to DEA agents, and I guess it was something about drugs and whatever. And then the rabbit hole on that was like he was working with the CIA for a long time and then stopped playing ball as they were basically trying to funnel drugs from Colombia to the States and shoring up money and pit stops in Panama. And yeah, okay, call him a dictator or whatnot, but the problem was that George Bush, being head of the CIA as he was president, didn't have a controlled asset, and they popped Noriega.
Yeah.
It made me think of just like the reality of on the news is like, oh man, he was such a bad dictator. Ooh, such a bad guy.
Yeah.
And there's the canal.
Right.
Okay. but really,
got nothing to do with the canal.
What's going on here though? What's really happening? So when I look at Trump say starts to focus on UFOs, it's like, what's really going on here? Like, they don't care about disclosure, obviously. They don't care that we're more enlightened or knowledgeable about what things. What does that play? I'm just curious.
It's a reactionary play, dude. Like, he saw Obama do something. He doesn't like Obama, and he pounced on it and then twisted it to something that benefits him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward logic if you strip away all the, conspiratorial potentials behind that logic, and you can just look at it and go, what did he do? Well, he found something, because 2 weeks from now, that's going to be gone. No one's going to think about it. It's just going to be like, oh yeah, that was the UFO thing. What are we talking about now? I mean, that's literally like, I was just talking to the robot about this. I'm like, well, but there's outrage cycles, and they go about 2.5, 3 weeks. Like, you remember when people were flying Ukrainian flags all over the place? Like, where are those? Like, you guys just
yeah.
Still a war. Like, nothing changed over there. It's still happening. Where did your I stand with Ukraine shit go? And the chick that got stabbed on the subway, and like, it's all just like, what can we get people inflamed about just long enough that they get pissed and keep feeding us data about who they are and what they like. And then, okay, they're getting bored of that. What's the next thing we can throw out in front of them? And Trump understands that mechanism very clearly, because he uses that mechanism to his advantage. He goes, oh, well, people are getting tired of this Epstein shit. Let's see, fling this out here. I'll make this statement. I'll go kidnap a fucking world leader. I'll whatever, like, I mean, but if you wield that office, like, you have a lot of tools to just like fuck with the media narrative, like ad nauseum. Like, you can just daily, you can just say some shit. But meanwhile, the institutional grind is going on in the background. He's still signing little things and little executive orders that do this, and little tweaks to this, and little policy tweaks here and there. And he's pushing little things through, stuff that nobody cares about, that doesn't garner any attention, but it nudges the needle in one direction or another. And then the institutional logics just keep going. But to get to a place where you can even nudge the needle, you have to be sitting in the chair. And the only way modernly to sit in that chair is to be sort of outlandish, best I can tell. Like it's, like, like if you just think about the Biden years and you go, what on earth was happening there? Like they tried to retreat to like a sense of stability. It's like that. Those days are gone, dude. Like everything moves fast now. Like it's move fast, break things, and then hope the tower doesn't fall over while you're doing it, kind of thing. So, but in the background, the machine still grinds. Like there's no. It's just how rattled and railed and upset are you going to be in the moment versus what's actually happening in the background. And if you can see it clearly and you go, well, the background isn't changing, it's just getting a little tighter. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, it remains kind of meta for me. I just like, so having that stepped back, zoomed out view on it, it's still like paying attention to like, okay, where is this going? What could come? Like, so like what I think of is back in like when COVID started. Oh, some virus in China back like in the fall of 2019. And then there was like a cruise ship or something, people got sick. And then some stories about, wet markets and whatever, I don't know, whatever. And then that turned steadily into something that's like, oh, okay, 2 weeks to stop the spread. Okay, well, a little longer.
Just 2 years.
I saw how that went on, and that's where I was like, okay, I see where these things can go. It ultimately, it didn't affect me too poorly, other than having to manage personnel things around it. But at one point, and I have people I know that were threatened to lose their jobs if they didn't get
shot,
their fundamental human rights violated, and then others that lost their jobs because they refused. And we were kind of on the line of the organization I work for was just, we had a meeting to discuss, should we mandate this? What are the repercussions? I think ultimately the only reason they didn't is because they just get enough pushback, or they would just literally have to deal with terminating employees and hiring new ones. And it was just a headache. But if people had just been like, okay, yeah, for my safety, just jab away, they would have done it.
Yeah.
Because it was just easy. Risk management, just everyone get the jab. Right. And I was kind of deciding, like, do I just get the jab, keep my job, not have to worry about it today? Now later, I don't know, but I keep my job. I think now, basically now it'd be like, oh, you're doing that? Okay, well, I'm out. Bye.
Yeah.
So
maybe. Well, I don't know. BitPain, he's a pretty good rabble rouser. Like, I don't know if you guys follow BitPain on Twitter.
I've seen him before.
He's a really.
I might have blocked him. No, I don't know.
Don't block people. Come on, just mute. Don't be a blocker. Be a muter. But he posted something that he's really good at, like, kind of poking people right in the biscuits kind of thing. But he said, like, if there was really a problem with that shot, we would have heard about it by now. Like, yeah, there's some isolated cases, some people in some random little pockets, but like billions of people took that shot. Like, if there was some sort of catastrophic risk to that thing, it would have become very apparent by now. Yeah. And there's something to that logic. That doesn't necessarily mean that 20 years from now people are like, oh, now we see what the problem is. Oops, But in terms of like a short-term, a shorter time horizon kind of evaluation of things, you go, well, what really came out of that? Like, some people did not react well to that shot, obviously. Some people are suffering some really pretty devastating consequences from that shot. But by and large, most people aren't. Like, they're just, like the stories where the do surface are loud and attention worthy, but the vast majority of the data doesn't support the conclusions of, like, whatever conspiracies about that are out there. I kind of appreciated BitPain just for throwing that out there, because I was like, well, you got a point, dude. So but people like absolutely shit on his head, but that's
I do follow him. He's a rabble rouser, but
but that's why he's great, because he's another guy that understands. I don't even know if he believes what he says half the time. I just know he he's got a pretty good sense of like how to get engagement, and that's what this whole platform's about. And the more you can understand, the institution of social media is engagement. It's not dissemination of valid information. It's just get people engaged and hovering, because that's where the money is, you know.
Yeah. Well, and so on the X landscape too, I've and we mentioned this in the past episodes, I think, but like, so, okay, fiat price down. People are sort of some Bitcoiners, I guess you might say, yeah, engagement farming. So there's engagement farmers that are struggling because it's not the number go up narrative. And so
Yeah,
then it's like,
those guys get
oh, I've seen people like, I'm taking a break from X for a while, or, you know, or they get really down and negative about what is going on here. Like, this is
yeah.
and you can see people grappling with fiat price. Um, and there was a Bitcoin Army Spaces, and you know, a little bit of discussion that, and this was a week or so ago, but a little bit of chimmering about like, man, how you doing? What's going on? Jesus, the price a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's natural. I get it, but also it's like, okay, maybe this is their first round, or they're still learning on things, and like this is, and that was part of the conversation, was like the times like this, when if you're looking at fiat price and you kind of need it, this is when you galvanize your convictions and your why, or you dig in and you lean in and you learn, or you take the opportunity, reframe it. This is your opportunity to, if you have that conviction, you got conviction, Anon. If you have the conviction, have the reasons why you got in changed, and if not, do you see it as cheap transference of your wealth into the hardest property in the world? But people have their different time preferences. Like, well, I got enough, and now I just want it to go up. And others, it's like, well, you know, you can always stack more now, more cheaply. Just a different runway on the time horizon in terms of what's your retirement life picture look like? You know, what's that time frame? So
Yeah. Well, I'm with you 100%, Johnny. Like, I'm just like, yeah, come on, baby, down, down, down. You know, because I know my time horizon is not like I want to cash out and buy a Lamborghini next year, right? Like, my time horizon is like, you know, to adopt that sort of clarity lens is like, well, I think as a long-term position, it's probably better to have Bitcoin than not, right?
yeah,
and as a way to preserve purchasing power and potentially opt out of institutional logics I don't necessarily want to be party to, it's a huge, powerful tool. So I should probably keep doing that, right? Like, there's no part of like, oh my God, my 401k is down because of blue. You know, it's just like, well, that's fiat games. And we live in a fiat world, and so I still have to pay for fiat. You know, like I got to buy bread, and I got to eat, and I got to pay my rent, whatever. But there's not that sort of like cataclysm that comes from like, oh, price went down, right? So I'm more like, oh, I get more now, yay.
yeah,
You know, and I don't know. I think it's healthy for the system, because for the people that are coming for the right reasons, it shakes them out of the narrative pumping that people kind of engage in. We'll never see under 100K again, and it's going to 1 million, and blah, blah. It's like, yeah, it's cool that gets people in. It's cool that it gets people engaged, and it's cool that it helps. But there's a lot of learning that has to happen between it's going to 1 million and why, right?
yeah.
Like, and so when you understand the why, then the going to 1 million can be put in context. But if you're just some guy who's just a tourist that just happened to stumble into it, and it's like, oh, I see, now I can retire my whole family line by just buying Bitcoin right now and sitting on it, and that's going to happen next year, right? Like that's the thing.
When,
like,
when millions, like
yeah,
in what, dollars? Yeah, dollars.
yeah. But
Okay.
from a long, but it's, to my ear, I go, well, it's no different than like saying, well, I bought some land in Montana, or I have a brick of gold buried in a yard in Texas, or like, these are not things where you go like, my life has changed forever because I have the thing. It's like, well, I have an asset somewhere that is protecting me on some level from fiat debasement in a fiat world that I can't really escape. Like I don't get to check out from fiat, right? Like it's just there. And it's deeply intertwined and deeply interwoven in the entire globe. Like there's no place on planet Earth where you can go, I am free from executive rule. I am the, because you're not. Like some census taker somewhere can come on and go, who are you exactly? Where are your papers? What? Like, I mean, there are places where you can minimize that contact. Like you can go live, you can be the Unabomber, but I don't think that's healthy for the old mental health, right? Like being around people is important. And I think, like Robin said that in his interview with on the Whim podcast.
Yeah, What Is Money with Stacks? He talked about that. Like just people naturally, we need other people and to share and connect and relate on these things.
Yeah.
It makes me think of that dream I had last night. It was like if I get time today and I think about it for a while, I got to write. It was one of those dreams where I got to write that down because it was novel to me. It was a gift from above about, oh, I'm seeing this different again. And being early, even just being early, as we know and talk about every time, was not even what I thought about it. But and at the same time, I should write a manifesto myself.
Why not?
Then there's a little part of me that imagines, oh my gosh, Grandpa was so early. So it's like my great grandkids are like, how did our clan end up with all of this? Like, what did Great Daddy Vanderbilt actually do? Well, he died at work at the age of 80, still humbly stacking sats when it was under 100,000 in 2040. And he died in fiat terms, poor, with such a time preference that he never saw any of it. But now here we are. Wow. So I haven't quite reconciled with the idea that, man, I could just grind and grind and grind and grind, humbly stacking sats for, I don't know. Well, when turn the corner.
Well, that's part of the beauty of having some clarity about this thing is when you see the institutional logics, you can start stripping some of those logics away from your life because they're not being imposed upon you. You're just opting into them, right? Out of convenience, keeping up with the Joneses, whatever it is. But when you can start minimizing contact with that, increasing personal friction around those contact points, then you start becoming that sort of self-sovereign kind of thing, right? Like it's not like go write your manifesto in a cabin like Johnny's doing right now, but it's more like how much friction can I retain in a system that aspires to see everything I do, right? And but if you allow yourself to be dependent on the system, if you allow yourself to be like, well, I just buy things from Amazon constantly. Like there are households across the country right now where it's like a daily thing where there's a pile of Amazon boxes showing up. And you go, do you need any of this stuff? Well, it might feel like it in the moment. It might look like it in the second, but what's the emotional driver? Well, dude, but that's what I'm saying is like there's emotional issues behind that. There's the coping mechanisms behind that. There's social expectations baked into that. There's all kinds of like it's a deep, murky kind of thing, but it's all based on the institutional logics that we're embedded in. And so if you have your own clear sense of those boundaries, then you can start mapping those boundaries. You can start navigating your cave better, right? Like if you're trapped in a cave and you're trying to figure out how to get out, like just panicking and smashing against the walls doesn't do anything. But if you kind of map where you are, see what resources you have, and then you can start figuring out ways to either make it livable or find a way to get out of it. But until you do that, until you have a clear-eyed view of what's happening, you can't reliably plan. And that's sort of my suggestion for anybody listening is like there is a certain clarity to this that you can't arrive at just by peeling back, just by being Dorothy and like trying to look behind the curtain and go, what's really happening here? And when you see what's really happening without the polemic lens, without the tribal lens, without the political lens, without the narratives, if you strip all that stuff away and just go, what's actually happening? Then you can start going, oh, okay, well, oh, so there's a great big wide crack right here. Like I can just go through that. And then I'm on the other side of that crack, and there's like this huge cavern over here, and there's a little stream, and that's way better than the cave I thought I was stuck in because I kept hammering away at the only exit I knew was available. And you can do that, I think, modernly. But the first step is to kind of ground yourself, right? Like when you're pissed off, go walk outside and see if there's anything really pressing you need to deal with in that moment. If it's not there, then maybe figure out a way to route that emotion to something more productive. It's kind of
Make your bed, then go clean your garage.
yeah, brush your teeth. Like there's shit you can.
Step by step, like you said, increase frictions, but become more self-sovereign. And Biddy says good morning, and she can't wait to be off the grid one day. And
wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. So like things in everyone's individual lives here and there and whatever, it might, for a lot of people, to be honest, I bet for a lot of people, it's just simply getting out of debt. I'd say get out of debt, even as maybe you stack and invest. But then also, what else in life, like the sovereign individual, what can you do to just be sovereign?
Well, sovereignty modernly means friction, like maintaining friction, right? Like it's super easy to go to the store and tap a card. Easiest thing in the world. I don't know when the last time you paid for your groceries in cash was, but I'm guessing it was probably a while ago. But that's a point of friction. That's why they're trying to get rid of cash, because it causes transactional friction, but it also increases granularity of monitoring, right? So you get two things back to back, and the institutions support. Wash these nuts.
Brush your teeth, wash your nuts.
Yeah, well, you're actually closer than you might think there, Johnny. I know you're kind of joking around, but like, there's a thing. If you go talk to the homeless, they'll tell you straight away. You just need to keep your pipe clean, right? You need to keep the opening to the pipe clean. You need to keep the exit to the pipe clean. Everything else can kind of go for a while, and it doesn't really matter. Like you can get away with a lot, as long as this is clean and that's clean. Like health can stay pretty robust if you keep those two. So yeah, brush your teeth and wash these nuts is more coherent than it might sound at first blush. Oh my goodness, extracurricular activities. That invites all kinds of interpretations. I'm not going to venture into any of them. but
anything else.
But the point is like being off grid is a point of friction. You are friction to the system writ large. But that's what I'm saying is like the same way.
I hear you. Is your microphone?
I don't know what happened there. Like,
oh, I hear you.
Yeah, but that was my Breed Love podcast just started playing automatically. I was watching Robin on the Breed Love podcast. But
yeah,
what I'm getting at is like those, the same way wealthy people find friction in the system, it's because they understand institutional logics. We as individuals that don't have that kind of wealth and resources, those frictions still exist for us. We just need to have a clear-eyed picture of where they exist so we can exploit them just the same way that wealthy people exploit them. And that's the broader argument all told. Wealthy people aren't getting pissed off about Ukraine or Epstein files. They're not even thinking about any of this shit unless they're directly affected.
They're named.
Yeah, unless they're named, right? Unless they're like, oh God, I got a factory in Ukraine. That's a problem. Or
well, they arrested Andrew, so they've only got a few thousand more to go. So
he got arrested.
I'm holding my breath.
Like he got arrested for improper conduct in office. Like that whole whether or not he was,
I'm not even sure if it's connected to Epstein. I think it's
not. No, it is very much connected to Epstein, 1000%, because they uncovered all these emails where it's like, oh, you were like feeding this guy state secrets, dude. Like, what the fuck? So that's not good. You're going to jail for that one, buddy. But so I mean, but that's like, if you want to talk about a shockwave, like that's hitting the English monarchy right in the nuts, right? So if there's anybody on planet Earth that needs to wash D's nuts right now, it's probably King Charles and that institution of the royal monarchy. So yeah. Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about boy. There's when I go to sleep, when I need help going to sleep, I can tune into a handful of podcasts that go down rabbit holes. Biddy and I talked a bit when she was on about some interesting, like everything from the paranormal to conspiracy stuff and other just mind-opening, expansive science type stuff. But I can listen to stuff like that where it's kind of beyond anything that I can have any impact on or that impacts me. But it's like listening to a story around the campfire, and it just lulls my brain into mythology, and I just unwind, and I fall asleep listening to expansive ideas, I guess I'd say. But sometimes that's Epstein stuff, with weirdly, like that I could go to sleep listening to Epstein stories. But for me, in a weird way, it's like beyond anything that impacts me, but it's just sort of weirdly entertaining, like paranormal almost. And I just, my brain just kind of goes to sleep. Like, I don't know what it is, but
that's pretty cool.
weird.
I kind of rely on old sitcoms like Seinfeld or something.
Something happy.
Well, it's just like, just it's mindless.
Positive, yeah.
Yeah, but it's also like very, very well calibrated for just like zero, like it's Chuckle Factory, not like, oh my God, I can't believe the world is melting down because Seinfeld broke up with his girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't invoke that kind of like, whoa. So I don't know.
Yeah. Epstein was into like genetics and breeding and
yeah, maybe I think
life expanding.
might have taken that lab over.
Yeah, they're reusing it.
Yeah.
Applied a new manager of this thing.
Yeah.
Alan Watts as well. He's meditative. I like Alan Watts. I can sleep to him too.
That's
sleep to his voice.
Yeah, there you go. Don't sleep with Alan Watts.
I don't sleep with Alan Watts, although he sleeps in my mind.
Yes. Well, anyway, we got an hour and a half in of me just blathering about like, chill out, bro. I think that's the big takeaway for Daniel's 14-hour rant today is just chill, bruh. Like it's gonna be cool, bruh.
Just chill, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Ooh, Terrence McKenna. Yeah.
I like Terrence McKenna. And then, oh man, the name escapes me again. There was a professor who was the turn on, tune in, drop out guy, LSD.
Oh, Timothy Leary.
Yeah. It's like I don't prescribe to it all, but I just find it almost like entertaining, but like mind relaxing. Calming. Yeah. So, well, it's TikTok next block, and got conviction.
Yeah.
Got the hard asset. So stacked and humbly.
Yeah. Oh, Huberman. Yeah.
Andrew Huberman.
Interesting. Yeah. Like it's too like I go like, oh, I'm gonna. Oh, well, that's kind of, I hadn't heard that before. Oh, what's he talking about? Oh, maybe I should Google that. Oh, really? Yeah. Like he's a little too thoughtful. He's too engaging, I think, for me.
Yeah. I can listen to some of that where it gets my brain thinking and then I'm not asleep, but yeah.
Ooh, Jeff Booth is a good one. Yeah. He is super humble, calming. That's a very calming personality. That's a good person in the world. I'm very grateful for Jeff Booth just for his presence.
His voice alone, like he could be talking about anything, but he's just got that calm, relaxing message.
Yeah, meditative voice, very humble. Yeah.
Get your vitamin D. Cool. Well, we can wrap it up. Thanks for joining, y'all. It's been fun, and another good Bitcoin Liberty Live vibe sesh. All right. Bye, everybody. Don't
forget our ads. Go buy a MicroSeed. It's a bear market. It's a good time to do some UTXO management and take self-custody.
Take self-custody, all. Here we go.
Woo. One single MicroSeed kit allows you to stamp as many seed phrases as you want. So check this out. You put your washer in here, you set the table, you grab your punches, and you tap, click, tap, click, tap. Stamp whatever you want, however you want it. It's tiny but clean and aligned. Your obscure little washer is indestructible and you can hide it anywhere. Get the kit and crank out all the keys you'll ever need forever.